Good morning, all. This is Camille O'Donnell, and I'm a real estate agent broker with O'Donnell Properties here in Chester, Maryland. And we are at Noxie's Table, which is a fantastic restaurant over here by the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. And a couple weeks ago, I did a video about pre-approval and pre-qualification letters. And I got back a lot of feedback and some questions. So this morning, we're just doing casual real estate lending shop talk. And I brought a lending expert here who is?
I'm Dave Eynck, Vice President of Lending at Washington Home Mortgage.
And where's that
We're headquartered in Bethesda, but we also have a branch in Easton on the Eastern Shore side of Maryland.
at? Okay. So, Dave, how long have you been in the business?
Well, I've been lending for over 25 years. And so
Wow.
we've seen a lot of changes in the industry, obviously, over the years. And the guidelines really have stayed pretty much the same for the most part. But what has changed is technology. Technology is allowing a lot. We're seeing a lot of cleared to closes in less than 15 days, 10 days.
Wow, that's
often.
amazing. So it was always
Yeah.
45 to 60 days, always.
It really was, and it's really. For a seller, if you can actually get out of the house in 10 days, I don't think sellers are ready for how fast the lenders are actually moving now, which is kind of cool. But if the house is vacant and it's in move-in condition and the appraisal comes back satisfactory, you can really get in the house in less than 2 weeks,
Wow.
to go to settlement.
Wow. Well, I'm going to start with some questions that I got back from my last video. And I'm just going to throw them out there. We're doing this
Sure.
very casual, so we don't have this like scripted, or we're just kind of doing it, on the fly, as they
Right.
say.
Right.
So what kind of programs do you have for first-time home buyers?
Well, it's a great question, Camille. So first-time home buyers are some of our favorites because they tend to be the ones with serious motivations and they really want to get their credit
so
together.
Much fun, aren't they?
They are so much fun.
Exciting and
Well, and seeing a first-time home buyer receive their home keys at settlement.
yeah.
I mean, is there a better feeling than that?
Oh,
Than
it
watching their face and their smiles and to know that they're bona fide homeowners. They finally arrived
Yeah.
at home ownership.
How do you provide a lot of, I want to say, comfort, because they are scared and they are anxious? But I have to say, even buyers who bought 20 years ago, they're just as scared as almost the first-time home buyers because they haven't done it.
Yeah, that's true. So first-time homebuyer programs can vary. You have everything from CDA loans all the way to a more, I would say, well-equipped first-time homebuyer might be 5% down. It really just depends on the borrower. So there's so many programs. Here on the shore, we like USDA.
Yeah, and the CDA stands for?
Community Development Association loans.
And we're considered rural in this area, so that
Correct.
opens up more programs for first-time home buyers. And is that all based on your income and
Yes.
location and how many are your family?
Absolutely. So many of the first-time homebuyer programs have income restrictions and limitations. USDA has property limitations because it is rural. So if you're on the Eastern Shore, from Kent Island, Ocean City, typically you're going to be okay. There are a few pockets in cities that USDA probably does not allow, but there's actually a chart. You can go online, plug in the home address, and see if it is eligible.
And for USDA, can
For
you
USDA.
explain that? Doesn't that allow them to come with less money as a down payment?
Yep.
So
typically you can get zero down, and which is great. And the sellers are allowed to contribute to the buyer's closing costs. So you can have a seller contribute maybe $5,000 to $10,000 toward a buyer's closing costs, assuming they can do it, and typically come in with little to no money at the table for the buyer, which is a big deal.
that is a big
It's
deal.
probably the best loan program as far as having a need for some cash help, from the seller. And a lot of times the lender can also contribute by raising the interest rate a little bit. They can create a little bit of lender credit and maybe give you back 0.5% or 1%, whatever is needed to contribute, as long as they still qualify.
I know I've worked with you in the past on some transaction deals, and yeah, I've heard other stories that it's amazing that lenders can actually help and contribute. It's just like they manipulate, they
It's not that amazing. We actually help often.
You guys don't know, but we actually do a lot of behind the scenes work and massaging that no one ever really realizes. But we try to keep as much anxiety off as the buyers or the sellers. So, we know it's a very tense time. Another question I got was, why should a prospective buyer contact a mortgage guy versus a bank and before going out looking for homes? That's actually a two-part question, which It's
a great question. So the two-part answer is there's various lenders out there. There's a bank who's basically going to take you to their loan officer. And the trouble with a bank and even some lenders is that many lenders only have one warehouse line where they draw their funds to fund the loan at closing. And so they have one set of guidelines, one program for each borrower.
So you have so many more options and so many more channels that
you
could.
So the other side of that is the broker. So the broker has the ability to look at a dozen different lenders that can do a USDA loan. The lender broker. So the difference between a lender and a broker is that a broker typically does not fund a loan. So we're not held hostage to a set of guidelines that go to the warehouse. We have the ability to look at the guidelines from each lender and find the one that fits best for our borrower. And getting to know these various lenders over the years, a broker typically is going to have more seasoning than a standard lender, and they're going to know how to get through the system and probably give you a better rate and better service just about every time.
I think that's definitely true. So I'm behind you 100% on that. Definitely check out a mortgage guy.
Right.
What's the difference between a pre-qualification letter and a pre-approval letter? That's always confusing. People always ask me that.
Yeah, so it's changed over the years. So a pre-qual letter is if a buyer calls a lender and they say, hey, I'd like to get pre-qualified to buy the home. So a lot of times you don't get a chance to look at W-2s. You don't get a chance to look at pay stubs or even tax returns in some cases if they're self-employed. So you're basically getting verbal information over the phone. And obviously, the people are being forthright and as honest as they can. But there are some guidelines that prevent us from using some income and even some assets.
I'm going to interrupt you just because I'm trying. I know I have some potential first-time home buyers. So let's say I am Susie Q from, down on the block.
Right, in the hood.
In the hood. And I call up and I say, hi, Dave, this is Susie, and I want to see if I qualify to have a mortgage. And my agent, Camille, told me you're really cool and you'll be able to help me. Mm-hmm. So what do you have to tell me? What do I need to do first? What do you want to see?
Well, as far as getting pre-approved, which is the next level. So pre-qualify is you're just getting some verbal information, you're getting some assets, some income, you're giving them a general idea of what they qualify for.
And it's all over the phone?
Correct. It's all over the phone. So a pre-approval, you've actually had the lender had an opportunity to review the taxes, review the W-2s, review the pay stubs, and the assets to make sure that the assets are coming from an acceptable source.
So what should they be trying to actually get in order before they call you?
Yeah. Well, pre-qualifies are fine, but really pre-approvals, where the lenders had a chance to pull credit and review assets and income, is paramount.
So if my buyer is so anxious, say today's Wednesday, and they want to go out looking on Saturday, and I'm trying to rush you because they're excited and I don't want to lose the momentum. So what would they need to give to you before, say, Saturday, so I don't waste their time, or my time, or the potential seller's time?
Great question. So if they're self-employed, typically we're going to need tax returns.
Okay,
Personal
tax
returns.
returns.
If they're corporated, we need the corporate taxes.
Okay.
If they're a partnership, we need to see those taxes as well. Now, if they're just W-2'd and they're working for a firm, just pay stubs, W-2s.
How many pay stubs?
Typically a couple pay stubs.
Like
maybe
a month?
30 days worth.
Okay,
yeah,
so
if it's bi-weekly. If it's weekly, probably 4 pay stubs would be great. And then
your
we'll
driver's
be able to.
license?
No, that's down the road. We torture them with that stuff later.
Okay.
But up front, we just need the pay stubs and the W-2s and the bank statements. We try to keep it as easy as we can because that's the crux of qualifying. Crossing T's and dotting I's. Yeah, you need a copy of your driver's license. And we'll get that down the road from one of our friendly, lovely processors. Joanne Morrison is mine, and Desiree Kelly in Bethesda, and they're wonderful.
And I've met them, and they are wonderful.
And so I can't say enough good things about the mortgage team that I have and our company. But so pre-approval is you've actually verified assets, income, and you really want to do that. Okay. You really want to make sure that the income is okay because the lender, typically their underwriter is going to look at that information and they're going to be the ones that say yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
So pre-approvals are better.
So if Susie calls you today on Wednesday, do you think by Saturday you could give me kind of a gauge, like what range? Oh, great.
Absolutely.
That's what, I know agents love that because, just trying to actually give it feet and get to the closing table is always, it's a journey.
Sure.
So now you had some questions too on the real estate side. We actually have these on our phone. We were going to print them out, but you know what? Everybody uses technology. So why not just save everything to our phone and we got it at our fingertips.
Right.
Hopefully I can answer these too.
Right. So the questions that we have for Camille on the real estate side is, should she talk to a bank or a lender before looking at homes? So we talked about that already. But here's a good one. Should they buy or should they rent if they're currently renting? Because they're trying to make the best decision. They don't know if they're able to do it. So how do you handle that type of scenario?
That actually is part of the job description that falls under a realtor's hat because we do a lot of counseling. Okay, and when we meet with them and they're not sure whether they want to, sell their house or they could be a first-time buyer and they don't know if they should continue renting, so that's very sensitive. So we do ask them some preliminary questions like, well, how long do you plan on staying in the location? Do you see your job changing, in locations? Are you pretty much settled, in your family? Do you want to stay in this location? If you could see yourself staying in your home for about, 6-7 years, I definitely would say, go ahead and pursue purchasing. If you're going to say, no, I'm only going to be there maybe 3 years, or 4 years, and, we run the numbers, we have this little calculation tool offered through our MRIS, which is like the MLS system. And if you plug them in, it kind of gauges them to whether they should rent or buy. But a lot of that depends on their personal background and, of course, on their finances. And the other side of it is I find a lot of retirees that are now like getting into their early 70s that they want to sell and they're thinking, when we downsize, should we just rent or should we buy again? And again, that goes back to looking at their background. So I usually will advise them to maybe talk to their tax person or whoever they get their financial background information from, because you may be able to do better by just renting, say in a townhouse or a condo or an association that handles all your landscaping. You have the amenities of a pool there, a clubhouse. You don't want to deal with planting. You don't want to deal with, having to worry about snow removal, trash removal, and all that stuff. So your monies that you're going to be profiting from selling your home could actually go into another type of a money-making product. So you run the numbers again.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was long-winded on that one.
Yeah, it's a good answer.
My phone number is 443-786-0200, or find it on the subtitles.
Yep. And you can reach me on my cell at 410-200-7140.
And I wish we could take you around Knoxie's.
Very, very beautiful. They've done a lot of additions too, and it's going to be a big deal.
Oh, yeah, they've done amazing with the weddings here. John has, yeah, he found a gold mine here. And John, if you're listening, I hope you don't mind. We're just like promoting.
We're promoting Knoxie's. John will send you the bill later.
Yeah, I'm going to actually show them. Look at all this. You can see some of the beautiful development and construction that is going on here. Just a great opportunity if you.
I think that's the vineyard over there.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's
The vineyard. Yeah. Wow. So did you hear that? They're going to be producing their own wine. All right. I'm going to bring this back over to us. And I'm sorry if I hopefully didn't show you the sky while I was going around, but